I'm not saying that imposter syndrome doesn't exist. What I'm saying is that distraction can be the worst part of moving forward. I'm DeTracey. I'm the founder of Elevate Results Coaching, Lift Strategies, and I'm an Elevate Results Coach. And if you like this video, go ahead and click the subscribe button below, thumbs up, and let's get going here on this conversation about imposter syndrome versus distraction. I started pondering this as I began working with more women leaders and solopreneurs around imposter syndrome. Actually, scientifically, it's known as imposter phenomena. It's real. It's this lack of belief in oneself around competency, abilities, motivation, self-esteem. And there are environments, work environments working with clients, where we as women are going to get activated. It's going to happen. And once we put a label on imposter syndrome, which is kind of a buzzword right now, then what does that do? When you think, okay, I've got imposter syndrome because I'm not feeling good about this situation that I'm in with a client. I'm not feeling good about the upper echelons of leadership that I'm dealing with. Or I'm working in a predominantly male environment in the technology sector, and I feel lesser than or discounted. Or I'm new to Canada or the States, if you're in the US, I'm new to Canada or the States, and I have to work harder as a woman to get to where I need to go because I have to prove myself. And I need to work long hours, and I'm worried about being fired, or I'm worried about losing this client. These are the pressures that women face in day-to-day life. And that's pretty stressful. And in that, what happens when women feel this way, when I feel this way, when you feel this way, is that there's this sneaky thing that comes in called distraction. That's when the scrolling happens, or stepping away from your desk or your office, finding something to ruminate on. And that's really what I've discovered in my own life that actually is the thing that's taken me out the most. It starts with the thinking and the overthinking about something and ruminating on it in terms of feeling impacted. And here's the thing, is that when you as women, when I feel confident, what changes? Hey there, I'm just popping in for a moment to tell you something cool, then we'll resume our regular programming. You now have access to the 5-step confidence process. You can gain more confidence in 5 minutes every single day. So look down below the description of this video and you will see a link to the 5-step confidence process. So check that out. Get a copy. It's a PDF. It's easy to follow and step into confidence, which I'll talk about more later in this video as part of my routine. And now back to regular programming. What changes about the decisions you make? If you think back to a time in your life where you felt really confident, almost like taking a snapshot or a picture in time of a moment, and you think, oh, I was really proud of myself in that moment. I busted through adversity. I shined. This is my superpower. I felt energized. What happens when you start thinking like that? Does your energy go up? Does your confidence go up? Does your motivation go up? So we can trick our brain. We can trick our brain into feeling more confident. That's possible. That's neuroscience. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The one thing, though, that we do when we feel emotionally dysregulated, when we're thinking about things over and over again that we don't feel good about, we're telling ourselves the stories, we're validating the stories, we're looking for evidence around the story about what that truth is, and we're proving that it's true, that I'm new in this company, I'll never get up to speed, I've just started a new part of my business, or I've just launched a new product and people are not coming yet. And it takes us out, right? It takes us out. And then there's the distraction of not wanting to face or do the tough stuff. And distraction is the killer. That's like getting on the phone and scrolling. It's about going into the kitchen to have a snack. It's about doing something that's not urgent, not important, not timely, not taking that next step forward, not looking at something like this is a growth opportunity, it's not a failure. And going into distraction, like physically doing something that doesn't support you in moving forward. And this is what combinates and gets into being a habit system. And so if that's the default that we are turning to, then we are actually not really in imposter syndrome in that moment. We're in distraction syndrome. Distraction syndrome. And this is something I've been watching for in my own life and noticing. This is why I can talk about it. Because this has been my experience. I have gone through a lot of changes over the last year and a half in my life. And I notice when I feel a little less confident about something or a little self-diminishing, that instead of doing the hard thing or just getting on with my list of things to do, putting things off, procrastination, and hopping into distraction, then I'm sucked right in. Now, one of the things that I do when I start my day is I have a routine, and sometimes it varies somewhat depending on what's happening, but consistently I get up, I meditate for 10 minutes, I do some stretching, I get my body moving to set up my day in a way that feels supportive to me and my clients. And then I do a healing breath exercise to just really get my respiratory system going. And then I imagine myself stepping into this feeling of confidence, this feeling of joy, this feeling that I can bring into myself, a state. I can think about something. I can think about reuniting with my daughter who lives in Spain. I can think about a past experience where I had a huge success. And I look up and I see myself and I imagine and I feel the feeling in my body. And I stay in that feeling for 2 minutes. And I really embody that sensation. And this is a way to reset my nervous system, to set myself up to feel good at the beginning of my day. Because here's the thing, if you're waking up, getting out of bed, dreading your day, then that means you're already setting yourself up for distraction, for imposter syndrome, for hopelessness, for worry, for anxiety. And this is happening with a lot of people right now that I'm coaching, that come to me. They have the story in their head first thing in the morning. This morning I woke up from a very intense dream. It wasn't a happy dream. It's kind of a story that has played out many times. And I could have just followed it. I could have followed the breadcrumb trail of disaster and really immersed myself in that and diminished who I was as a person. But I made the choice not to do that. I made the choice to get out of bed, hit the cushion, meditate, to do my stretches, to really embody that day the way I wanted to. And I'll tell you, it makes a huge difference. So I want to invite you, when you are either waking up with that feeling of dread or negative thoughts about yourself around your competencies, capabilities, notice it right away. And then if you can switch to stepping in and thinking about something that you feel happy about, joyful, or confident about, and just bring that feeling to yourself and really embody it. Like imagine it. You can even, again, look up like a movie screen and see yourself in that situation. It can be very powerful because when you look up, you're actually using your future possibility brain. When we look down, when people feel sad or upset or in a state of diminishing themselves, when you look down, you're actually in the past. So present is looking forward, future is up. So that's why when I step into that feeling of joy and confidence, I look up into the future. And that helps reset my brain. And then once I start my day, I have a list of things to do. I'm clear about what I'm doing. And if I start to notice that I'm getting distracted, it's mostly because I might be having self-doubt or worry, anxiety, whatever that feeling is. And I'm like, okay, I've got a choice here. I can just do the thing anyway. I can just get this task, this one thing done. Or I can be distracted and I can watch the whole day go by in a way that is counterproductive. So just as a wrap up here, I came into this video talking about the importance of recognizing that imposter syndrome is real. It's called imposter phenomena. And there are ways to bust through it. And the excuse that happens in our brain is to go to that place of distraction. Now, if you're going to good distraction, productive distraction, healthy distraction that really supports you in your goals and your objectives and your self-esteem and how moving forward and doing the hard stuff and even taking those small steps that are easy, then that's great. That's like the medicine. That's the cocktail. That's the remedy to the situation. But if you're going onto your phone and you're scrolling or you're listening to audio that's taking you away from yourself, or getting up and going to the fridge and eating something because in the moment it feels better, then know that is not necessarily just imposter syndrome. It is the big D of distraction. So now you've got some ways to notice when this happens, even more than before. You can recognize that there are billions of women on the planet that go through this, that have those self-doubts, that have moments of lack of confidence. You're not alone. And don't use the label of imposter syndrome to take you away from your goals, from your mission, from your vision, from what you love, from who you are at your core. Step into that feeling of joy and confidence. Step into action. And even taking those small steps to move forward can really make a difference. I'm Jen DeTracey. I'm the founder of Elevate Results Coaching and Lift Strategies. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to thumbs up it, subscribe, and I will see you soon.